Welcome, everyone. We are going to wait for another minute for other folks to join, and we'll start at 11:01. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Today, we are going to talk about insider threats with printer as a source of exfiltration. And then we are going to look at Splunk UEBA, which can help you tie printer exfiltration with a lot of data you can have, such as authentication data, HR data, and see how these two things are tied intimately and how we can help you detect these insider threats. These are some forward looking statements. Feel free to go through them. So just to begin with, we want to know how many of you have any kind of insider threat detection program in your organization, just to get an idea of where you are in your security journey. The same repetitive. Okay, so the answer is roughly a lot of you have some version of insider threat detections, although I see maybe a very few of them have replied so far. Next is how many of you collect printer log? Like based on the analysis we did with a lot of our customer, no, they do have a lot of printer log, but they are not even aware of it. And they don't typically utilize it in order to identify any kind of data exfiltration. And as we will discuss more, we will see how easy it is to exfiltrate information through printers, because typically it does go unnoticed. We can guide you how you can uh, identify use cases, create them on your own stack. Okay, so let's start. I'm Abhinav. I'm a principal engineer at Splunk, and with me I have Lei Chan, who is the director of Splunk UEBA, and Kumar Sharad, who is a senior staff engineer in security AI. Before we proceed, I just want to give a very high-level idea of what we plan to cover today. Initially, we are going to motivate the problem by looking at different kind of insider attacks. Then we are going to focus more on printer-based exfiltration, and then we discuss UEBA. More specifically, we want to find out why do we need UEBA and how everything is connected. And lastly, we discussed some detections on printers in depth. As a first motivating example, we look at the people who are leaving the company, and almost in every single case, these people, they need to be on watch list. For example, a salesman moving to a different company may download client data, or some coders may try to download source code thinking they are the ones who wrote it, so it's okay to download it. So these kind of insiders are known as accidental insiders. They may or may not be malicious, they might be benign, but they can make mistakes and download some really confidential information. And we really want to catch such insider threats. We know in advance that these people are leaving, and we should monitor any kind of alerts related to these people, simply because they are at risk. Another example is IP theft. It's a classical case of insider threats. How many times have we seen companies suing employees? And very likely these companies have deployed insider threat products. I mean, because of that they are able to detect, hey, this person downloaded these IPs and took it with them. We are all familiar with intelligence leaks. For example, WikiLeaks is probably the biggest which comes to my mind. This is also considered as a insider threat. as someone who was inside and deliberately tried to leak confidential information. So, does anyone remember 15 years ago, there used to be a lot of leaks about upcoming iPhones, upcoming iPad, or there going to be an iPad? There used to be a lot of insider leaks, like people, they will sell this information to news outlets. And the photograph you see on the slide, Kara Swisher, she was a big time insider during my time at Yahoo roughly 15 years ago. So whatever CEO used to say, the news used to come to Kara Swisher before it comes to the employees. And Yahoo, what it started doing was they started sending misinformation to different people so that they can identify who is the source of these insider news going outwards. So insider threat program has been active in organization for a number of years. So far, we have been only talking about human insiders, and the age of AI is already here or is about to be here, and the way we visualize insider, it's going to change simply because instead of humans, we are going to have agents who can exfiltrate sensitive information. For example, in your organization, somebody can ask an agent, hey, summarize all the sensitive information which happened in last 24 hours, and then email it to this account. Agent on your behalf can go through all the Slack channels, all your internal documents in last 24 hours and identify the sensitive information and simply exfiltrate it. And discussion on agentic insider threat, it should be a separate talk. So I just wanted to highlight, the insider threat is changing as we speak. So going back to printer, why do we care about printer? Part of the reason is it is another tool to exfiltrate data, and it is not closely monitored. A lot of DLP solution or endpoint solution, they may not provide you proper context on which you can act upon. You won't know if something actually happened or if somebody was trying to actually exfiltrate information. And these are some of the use cases we have. Suppose an employee, he resigned, he's accessing some information and he's trying to print those things. This is one use case. Second use case is unusual file access. Suppose there is somebody who is in sales and they access some confidential product information or some source code, which they should not do in general, even though they can have access, but there is no reason for somebody from sales organization to go through source code. Another example is somebody who tried to have a lot of failed login attempts, and then we see, hey, they are printing something. There is a very good chance that they were trying to access some sensitive information they were not allowed to, and followed by printer. This is another example. And there are a lot of such use cases depending on your organization. For example, somebody can go in the middle of night and print something. I mean, we don't expect a lot of printing at unusual time, and these are some very weak signals which can tell us, hey, something is going on, some exfiltration, and it needs further investigations. And at the same time, we should be very mindful that every customer environment is very different. For example, if an engineer resigns, they might print architecture diagrams. If a sales leader resigns, they might be looking to download customer pricing list. Or if legal staff resigns, they might be looking into printing contract drafts. So what it means is the sensitive information each of these employees are accessing, they are probably different. For an engineer, we are probably looking at GitHub source code. So our data source is very different. The sensitive information, it lies somewhere else. For salespeople, the information might live in Google Drive, and every customer's environment, it needs to be tailored accordingly. We have to look at where does your HR data lives, where is your authentication data lives, and all these things tied with users action, it can easily be analyzed using product UEBA. So we can have a lot of insider threat based detections, but a lot of context is provided using UEBA. So UEBA is a single place where everything comes together. And I'm going to pass this on to Lei, who is going to talk about about UEBA and take you on a journey. Over to you, Lei.
Yeah, thanks, Abhinav. Yeah, so I want to talk about the UEBA specifically, and also that how Splunk UEBA product looks like. So I want to make sure we align on the problem first, right? So I think we all understand the problems that have been pictured in the previous slides about inside threats. Then how exactly, if you want to build a solution to be able to stop insiders, what kind of solution we'll be looking for, right? So number one, you want to proactively detect those insiders, because insiders can cause a lot of potential damage. So you want to constantly looking for the insiders instead of waiting for some damage to happen, and then you start looking, then you start trying to figure out what to do. You want to stop the insiders from stealing the company data from before it actually happened. So this is why that this new solution needs to be able to provide all those additional user and entity intelligence data that for analysts to consume, because in order to proactively monitor the environment, you need additional intelligence, specific around user. You can reach a lot of intelligence and signals, but if it's very difficult or if it's very insufficient for SOC team to be able to consume them, and then the solution is going to be the benefit of solutions can be limited. So when we come to specifically for the insiders, we're talking about two types of insiders. I think I've mentioned this briefly previously. One insider is the traditional insider, right? The bad employees that who's trying to steal company data. Another type of insiders, they're actually external attackers, but they were able to be a product is designed to address both types of insiders, because it's used on same type technology, same machine learning type detections we develop. So we're targeting to address both type of insiders. Now, at a very high level, right? So what is the Splunk UEBA product is going to benefit to the customer from customer perspective? So the number one is the discover unknowns. So this is probably the most important value is we heavily rely on machine learning technology to discover anomalous anomalous user behaviors. Any static rule-based behavior detections is going to be very noise, right? Because every person will behave differently. Every company's employee will behave differently. So the only way to reliably read a number signal with a low false positive rate is to use machine learning to be able to learn every single employee's behavior based on historical data, build a baseline for every single person, and then detect anomaly on top of that. Right. So this is why the machine learning based detection is the number one value. And as I mentioned earlier, we're not a fan of just raising hundreds or thousands of signals. Then let analysts figure out what to do with them because they can be easily overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. This is the why that for the Splunk UEBA product, we specifically designed a premium user experience in terms of the user-centric risk analysis workflow. The goal of this workflow is to be able to consolidate all the signals, all the context information about any specific user or server, and visualize them in front of the analyst, so that analyst can be able to conduct a analysis, user behavior analysis effectively. And so this is the you're going to see this throughout demo. Next slide. So we designed the Splunk UEBA product was designed from the scratch about 2 years ago. When we designed this UEBA product, we have 5 design principles to begin with. We want to make sure that the 5 design principles it's going to live through the entire design process, becomes the guidance when we're building this new UEBA product line. The number one, as I mentioned, it has to be machine learning based. We want to make sure whatever architecture we design on the back end, it needs to be reliable and scalable for machine learning, because machine learning can be resource heavy. It takes a lot of CPUs and memories, right? So we want to make sure our architecture will be able to support our largest enterprise customers in terms of scalability and the reliability. The second one has to be simplified onboarding. We want to make sure that the time to value from customer perspective is minimized. The way we are achieving this is we designed this new UEBA product to be fully integrated into the Splunk enterprise security from both a data structure perspective and user experience perspective. So that way that for a experienced ES customer, it becomes very easy for them to be able to set this up and be able to consume the product so they can see the value in just a couple of weeks. Third one is scalability, right? So we want to make sure that, excuse me, we can support a lot of largest enterprise as we moving forward. The fourth one is kind of something I mentioned previously, is the user-centric risk analysis workflow. This is one of the key elements to be able to help analysts to be able to consume our signals effectively, which I'm going to demonstrate to you guys momentarily. And we don't plan to stop here, right? We're looking for a even more seamless end-to-end workflow integration with the with others and Splunk's enterprise security functionalities, such as case management, right? Such as the SOAR. SOAR is going to allow the user to take actions, such as quarantine device or suspend the user account. So we want to make sure that the UEBA is not a standalone product. Rather, it's going to be fully integrated into enterprise security from end-to-end workflow perspective. So the out of the box, we have hundreds of machine learning detections being built into Splunk UEBA product. Those are the top use cases from an inside threat perspective, such as data exfiltration, which is usually the top interesting use cases. And we also have compromised user accounts, compromised the machines. All those are very similar use cases. And out of the box, we have hundreds of detections to allow customers to deploy this to get the benefits of it. One thing I want to mention is that when we design this Splunk UEBA product, we specifically to make sure that the software updates will be independent from the content updates. The reason is that the software features at a certain point is going to mature and being stabilized, but the content never, right? Content will always change it. There are always attackers coming out, always techniques coming out. So we want to make sure we can update the content independent of the software release. Excuse me. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into the demo. So I'm going to share my screen. Abhinav, can you see my screen? Okay. So I'm assuming you guys can see my screen. This is a UEB overview dashboard that we built. So on the purpose of the dashboard is to be able to help analysts to be able to prioritize and triage, hey, who are those top risky users and the servers, we call them assets, that we need to start investigating into. For top risky users, we also allow you to be able to filter based on a
certain I don't think I can see your screen. Sharat, can you see his screen?
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah, okay, I think probably you want to unshare maybe.
Yes, let me try one more time.
Yeah.
Okay. What about now?
Yeah, now
we can see.
Okay, good. All right, sorry guys. So this is the UEB dashboard I mentioned. The top goal of the UEB dashboard is to be able to help analysts to show, hey, who are the top risky users and risky assets that they need to look into based on the risk score. Right? So we have your risk score to be able to help analysts to be able to prioritize. We also have features of what we call the watch list to be able to allow analysts to be able to build a specific watch list for service accounts, for privileged accounts, so they can be monitored closely. So top risky users. So so this panel gives you analysts an overview across all the signals, machine learning, behavior signal across my company. Which ones are top one, the most popular ones? So we can show you those ones are the top ones that we need to be detected across the board within your company. And in case you want to be able to specifically look into, for example, this real person activity has been detected over 1,000 times across 26 unique entities. And me wants to know, hey, what's been going on with this one? Can I show specific? Can I see which specific users in the server been detected? So you can actually filter your dashboard based on specific signal. In this particular example, we can see we have about 16 risky users and 10 risky assets being detected for this particular signal. So we clear the dashboard. Every detection from the Splunk has annotation for meta tag, right? So based on this annotation, we're able to light up the meta tag heat map. Essentially, the purpose of this goal of this panel is to give analysts an overview across all the signals being detected. Hey, what it sits in terms of the meta tag kill train. Naturally, the more towards the right, the more imminent we can cause damage. So, for example, the data exfiltration is really towards the end of the kill train. And analysts may be interested to learn that, hey, I want to know which users in the servers has been detected for this potential signal. So we can allow you to filter dashboard. So you can see that we have 5 risky users and 11 risky servers be detected for potential data exfiltration. Now I want to dive down into a specific user. And before I do that, I usually want to start with a specific watch list. So for example, I want to, hey, the privileged users. Privileged users have a lot of access to the company, right? So if either they are insider or in case their account gets compromised, they could be potentially causing a lot of damage. So this is why that, hey, I'm got a really interesting one of those high risky users with a risk score 94, Al Bernstein. So if I click on this, we're going to drill down into a specific user. So first, we're going to show you the Al's risk score being over the last 7 days. So in this particular example, it's being flat, but in reality, usually user risk score goes up and down. So you can see the trending. Hey, is the user risk score goes up or goes down? Or it's being jumped over the last few days. We also show you how exactly we calculate the user risk score. It's from a different aspects, based on a different meta tag. So all those charts are tailored specific for this user. So you have a good understanding to be able to explain to someone why L risk is 94 is because of this. The context information is very important for this user-based analysis. This is why it's very important to show L's additional entity details, such as where the user is located, which department is belong to, and where's the hiring day, and all those are very important information so you understand the context of this user. So this panel, and we call it entity connections, it shows for L that, hey, what are the assets L has been accessing to? And for each of the assets, what are their individual risk score? Certain assets can have a potential high risk score, but because of the things that have been happening for that specific asset. So if you click on this, that will take you to they will pivot to the assets focus view for this specific server. Additionally, if you check on the checkbox, we're going to show you that L's peers, right, on the same manager. Grace Hobby is the manager. So on the same manager, what other peers' behavior would be looking like? We can see Billy, we can see Bruce, they're in the same team, right? So, so if you click on this, that will take you to the Billy's page to look at what the Billy has been doing. So essentially, this panel is going to allow analysts to be able to compare and pivot to different angles for user behavior analysis. So the next panel, so this is a detection heat map. So this one shows you over last 7 days for L Bernstein. Those are all the signals being detected over the last 7 days for Bill, and when this happened. So this also gives you a timeline. we use the color density to reflect the frequency. So the more frequent the signal being detected, the higher the color density is. This last panel is probably the most important panel. So this will not just to show you that all the signals be detected over the last 7 days. We also show you, hey, each of the signal will be contributing differently in terms of user risk score. So we're going to allow you to sort the signals based on the score contribution. So you can focus on the most impactful signals first. For each of the signal, we also show you that, hey, how many times been triggered, first time, and last time, and across how many different unique devices. So then we're going to allow you to do a further drill down. So for example, in particular, first one, password policy convention has been detected for 16 times. If you click on view contributing risk, we're going to show you, we're going to drill down into each of the individual risk events for the password policy convention over the last 7 days, when exactly that happens. Now we can see the exact timestamp on which exact device and based on which exactly identity. We also showed you that, hey, this is based on Windows security logs. So one of the key functionality we built into this product is to allow the analyst to be able to drill down all the way to the raw logs that directly been contributing to this particular risk event. The ability to drill down into the raw log is actually very important, because it's not just to give analysts the confidence, hey, this is the things that's been really happened. And also when it comes to the investigation, the raw logs can be serving as the hard evidence to supporting whatever investigation needs to be conducted. One of the challenge of the machine learning based behavior detection is, hey, how to explain this to someone? So for example, unusual volume of authentication failure. What do you mean unusual, right? So why is this unusual for this user, not for other users? So we figured the best way to be able to explain those is to be able to visualize the baseline against the anomaly. So for the baseline is built per user. This is baseline specific for our bounce time, and per signal. This is specifically for authentication failure. The baseline will be built and learned over the last 30 days of data, and our backend machine learning engine will rebuild the baseline every single day. So it's a 30-day moving window. We rebuild, relearn every single day. Because of this, the green line is the baseline, so you can see the baseline goes up and down because it's calculated every single day. And the purple dots are the normal activity of our bounce stand over the last 30 days. And the yellow dots are the anomalies. Why it's anomaly? Because you can visually tell it's way above the baseline. So the last piece of the useful information on this panel is we also show you the related investigation being previously opened against this user outbound state. So you have additional context you can look into. The last one is the meta attack heat map. It's more tailored. It's a specific person-specific heat map that give analysts an overview across all the signals be detected. For this particular user, what it sits in terms of the meta attack heat map. Okay, so that's the end of the UEBA demo. Hopefully, this is something being interesting to you. The Splunk UEBA product has been already available, being released to all customers as part of the Splunk Enterprise Security Premier Edition. If any of you got interested, feel free to reach out to our websites and to your account team for more information. All right, so Kumar, back to you. I think you're next to coming with some cool demos.
Yeah, thanks, Lei and Abhinav, for setting the stage. Now, let's dive a bit deeper into why printers could be an overlooked attack vector, which could make it very attractive for the adversaries. As Abhinav alluded to you earlier, printers are not very well protected, as compared to a typical machine or a server which has important information. Printers just kind of lie around and could be like a trusted blind spot for the adversaries. So they sit at the intersection of people, devices, and sensitive documents, making risky behavior feel routine. So imagine a compromised laptop sending heaps of information or data to a particular printer and then harvesting it when the time is right. You can also think of it being used at drop boxes where if you don't have printer logs or it's not being monitored, or there's a particular printer which has been lying around which nobody uses and it's still connected to the network, then and somebody figures that out, they could just send print jobs there, and nobody is looking. And at one fine moment, they can collect the data and exfiltrate it. And unlike other parts of the infrastructure, such as USB or cloud uploads, print activity rarely triggers data loss prevention controls, and making it a very attractive attack vector for adversaries. Now, you may ask, what is a malicious print job? That is hard to define without context. This is why behavior-based detections matter. I mean, no activity in itself is malicious, but it may become malicious when seen in context. So if you look at print activity by default, it's often not blocked by network, and it is seldom physically audited. Like there's nobody looking what print jobs you collect. So detection basically comes from looking at patterns and finding unusual behaviors. So think of volume spikes, unusual large data transfers, odd timing, or unexpected destinations. They alone may not be sufficient to say that something bad is happening, but combined together and with other data sources, this could be a potent signal that needs to be investigated further. These signals typically come from print servers, endpoint telemetry, and driver-level instrumentation. So the key takeaway from this slide is that behavior patterns matter rather than a particular behavior by itself. Now let's look at some concrete ways of exfiltrating data. The first one is a very simple one, high volume printing as data exfil. Printers are often not physically audited. Nobody is looking what print jobs you are collecting. And often print jobs are also not stopped by network controls. So what somebody could do is a malicious employee who's leaving the company, they could just print a large number of documents or source code and so on and so forth and just collect it. This detection hinges on identifying sharp volume increases related to a historical baseline. So we always collect a baseline, which I will get to a little bit further down the slides and explain how we do that. But what we do is we try to define a baseline behavior for every user, and deviation from that is seen as anomalous. So outcome, if you detect such behavior well within your attack window or before the user has physically collected documents, you may be able to stop it. Now, the second one is sending large data transfers to printers. So even though somebody may not send really large amount of print, they may hide or embed data in documents, send them to printers, and then later collect them at a convenient time. So it is important that we don't just look at the number of pages printed, but also look at unusually high amount of data being transferred to printer, because this is unusual behavior. Again, we do this by looking at a baseline and deviation from which matters. So, and monitoring data volume anomalies reveals sensitive movement hidden inside ordinary print jobs. The benefit of doing this is that you can detect malicious behavior without looking into the file content. You can just look at metadata, which is the size of the data that is being sent to a printer, and note that and see that if that is anomalous. Another popular one is off hours and unusual timing of a print. So imagine you have office hours most commonly from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, and you see somebody firing a print job at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. This is again very unusual. And it could be a signal that either some script is doing that, or machine has been compromised, or maybe an employee has stayed back and is printing at an unusual time. Now, again, this could be malicious, or it could be benign if somebody has to work on a project deadline or something like that. So, but this is a behavior worth flagging, and this could serve as a very high signal or important signal that something has been compromised. Another common one is destination anomalies, which is to say that if somebody is working in the HR department and they start sending prints to legal department or IT department or other buildings or other printers to which they should not be, then this is also something worth investigating. They may be trying to distribute a very large print job. As discussed, large print jobs may be seen as suspicious, but maybe if they distribute 10 pages each to 10 different printers, they might escape scrutiny. So normally this can be noted by looking at how much a particular user is printing and then taking action, or other ways to do this is by looking at what destination a particular user is sending prints to. So this kind of behavior also indicates that somebody is either trying to move laterally or an employee is trying to evade security systems. Now, how do we go about detecting these patterns? So as I mentioned previously, we always compute a baseline. And this is done for every user for whom we build a baseline for 30 days of history. More data is better. You can go even up to 45 or 90 days, but at a minimum, we require data for a week. Otherwise, the predictions or anomaly reporting would not be very accurate if we don't have a long enough baseline. And once we have that data, a baseline and a present behavior, then we use two numerical tools to sift through them, which are z-scores and density-based anomaly scoring. So z-score, without going into too much mathematics, is just a metric which tells you how far from an employee's normal behavior or a user's normal behavior is the present behavior. So if that number is larger, it means that the behavior is super weird as compared to the normal behavior. And if it is smaller, then it is considered all right. Bear in mind, we only look at large activities. So if you are, let's say, printing 5 pages every day and one day you print 5,000, that is something which needs to be looked at. But we don't care about no activity, which is to say, if you're printing 5 pages and then you print nothing for a month, then no activity is not malicious. Similarly, once you have, so the z-score allows you to benchmark each employee's behavior. Now, if you want to look at patterns together, so let's say a legal department got a new contract and everybody has to work on that, and the work is too much, so everybody printed a lot of pages. So does that mean it is malicious? Maybe not, because everybody is printing, so everybody's baseline will shift accordingly, and then as the data moves, z-scores will be normalized, but for a moment, z-scores would be very high. So how do you say that which ones are anomalous or not? Bear in mind that even during this high load, there could be people who are acting maliciously. So what this density-based anomaly detection function does is it fits all the data points or all the z-scores of the employees in a normal curve and just reads off the very extreme ones. You can set a percentage of what you consider anomalous, 1%, 5%, 6%, so on and so forth. So it basically looks at a population in comparison so that you can normalize the z-scores. For time-based analysis, we look at periods of a day. We divide days into 6-hour buckets, and then look at if there is somebody sending print jobs there. So this allows you to not only control the amount of print, but also, or amount of activity, I should say, and but also the timing of the activity. And finally, as I mentioned, these alerts are seen as red flags. They alone do not constitute a compromise. But together, high confidence alerts are built by correlating weak signals across volume, timing, destination. And finally, these signals are tuned so that the very important ones are surfaced to the analyst, because we do not want to waste attention and cause alert fatigue. So even after strong correlations, only the ones which make the most sense are surfaced. Okay, so now let's take a look at a few SPLs and see how things look in motion. Let me share my screen. Abhinav, give me a thumbs up if you see my screen. You do, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay,
I can
awesome.
see it.
Okay, great. So I'm going to share two kinds of detections with you. So I'm not going to go through the SPL, but just this runs on a dummy data and tries to catch people who are sending too much data to the printer. So, and it essentially has a few bits which are of importance. So we have user, we have the printer name, we have the mean data that this user sends in the particular time window. And then we have historical, mean by sum, and we have present, we have historical, and then we have the standard deviation. And this allows us to compute a z-score. As you can see, some users are very high and some users are relatively low. And this can tell you that if you want to investigate further, if the z-scores are suspicious to you. A couple of things we also do is filter out very low activity users, and at the same time we require certain things to fire together so that these are shown in the final output. So essentially the takeaway from here is that we compute the z-scores and you can filter these z-scores based on magnitude and take action further. Now, to go a step further, as I mentioned that if everybody in your organization has suddenly has become very active, or in this case has started printing a lot of documents because of operational reasons, because you got a contract or whatever, then how do you sift through that data? So what we do is we fit density function on top of this z-score, and what this looks like is the following. The only difference here is we compute something as p-score, which tells you to what extent the z-score is high. So it is normalized based on the highest z-score, which tells you based to the person who is most active, what is your position, sort of. And it also fits a normal curve and outputs only the very suspicious or very highly active users. So this is dummy data of 2,000 users, and out of which only 10 have been finally showcased, because these are the most malicious ones. These are top 1% after fitting the normal curve. So yeah, these are some of the tools that we use for our detections. And let me stop sharing. Okay, so a couple of resources I would like to point you to. So here's some information about, oops. Here's some information about the app. There's a blog which talks about how we use printer detections, and it will be a good supplementary reading material after you have attended this webinar. Additionally, there are some articles which gives you more information about UEBA. So please check them out. Yeah, we can now move over to question and answers. Okay, I see a couple.
So yeah, I see one question. So let me just summarize it. So one of the first question is they are asking the UEBA demo. Isn't it just a dashboard inside Splunk ES? Or so I think like we haven't made certain things clear. So in the current offering of ES, there are multiple tiers. One is ES Premium, and I think first one is ES Basic, and ES Premier comes with UEBA. So UEBA is an app which is part of ES Premier. And inside UEBA, everything is related to UEBA. Like you're not going to see any generic ES detection. All the entities, devices, they are listed, all the detections, which are not part of ES Basic or ESU Premier will be present for UEBA. And everything you will be seeing in the app, they're all tied together basically. Like for a user who failed multiple authentication times, then tried to upload some data using web proxy logs, and then followed by printer, like all these things about that users are tied together. And UEBA is nothing but analysis of such users and entities, if it answers your question. So it is very separate from other app you can see inside ES. So next question is, will these examples be shared so we can review the code? I would suggest, you take a look at the blog, which was listed. And I think like we are going to share the resources such as the video of the talk along with the blog. And I think the combination of these two will guide you actually, like how we are creating baselines for printer and how the detection is working underneath. And by the way, it is just one of maybe like 30 printer detections we have inside UEBA. Like in this talk, we haven't touched many crucial subjects such as peer grouping. For example, if you are in marketing, probably you're going to print more than anyone else, right? And a lot of printing is not uncommon for an employee inside marketing. So there are detections which actually address these peer grouping based scenarios. And please feel free to reach out to us, like if you're interested into going into detection coverage, what kind of techniques or what kind of classes we cover as a part of UEBA. Another question is, will there be any demo on UEBA tuning or baselining? So yeah, like within UEBA, we have a lot of features which we didn't cover in this short talk. You can go and you can create your own exclusion rule. There are ways you can do baselining and monitoring, and a lot of these things, they come by default so that you don't have to do anything. But a lot of such functionalities are present inside UEBA. So I would suggest, if you're interested, like please talk to your rep and like have a demo arranged specifically for you so that you can go and look deeper into it. Any other questions? Yeah, so I would say like, please sign up for community office hours. And I think like once the video is posted, you can ask questions and we will try to answer those questions. And there is an upcoming tech talk. If you're interested, please come and attend those as well. And there will be office hours on security insider threats on Feb 18th. So I would say that's a really good venue to get your answer clear. And I think like this upcoming question is for you. Are there any specific NIST or other government compliance UEBA covers? Lei, are you around?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, sorry. What's the question?
So are there specific NIST or the other government compliance UEBA covers?
Specific. Yeah, I'm not really specific. So in general, there's a lot of government customers requires UEBA mainly for a behave for inside threats coverage. So we are
So they're
being
asking like, is it compliant? And I think the answer is yes, basically, because the governments are already using this product, right?
we have already a lot of government customers, paying customers using deployed Splunk UEBA and using it on a regular basis.
So I would imagine the answer is yes, like, but we can go deeper at some other time, but yes.
Yeah, talk to your reps. We can definitely get the more information.
I think that's pretty much. And thanks everyone for attending, and feel free to shoot us questions and attend office hours.
Yeah, thanks
and
everyone.
Definitely take a look at the blog if you are more interested. Like this is the app and there are more articles on that. Thank you.